10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What is going on, Birdland? Stephen Heckman here for the Baltimore Battery, coming to you with the Final Strike program, and we have Zachary Bucklew here today with us after the Baltimore Orioles have kicked off the draft for the weekend and secured their first 4-game winning streak of the season. 8th time's a charm. Baltimore Orioles swept the Kansas City Royals today with a score of 8-2. So good news on that front. Only bad news coming out of the game is Blaze Alexander did break his left hand later on in the game. So unfortunately, we will probably lose him with a non-displaced fracture for approximately 6 to 8 weeks. We'll wait for further tests to see what the final say is on that. But we are not here to talk about that because the All-Star break is now officially underway. We are here to talk about the Baltimore Orioles draft. And we have brought in our draft day specialist and our prospect specialist, Zachary Bucklew, to discuss that. Zachary, welcome aboard. Would you like to introduce yourself once again to our lovely, adoring fans out in Birdland?
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Zach. I am the prospect analyst for the Baltimore Battery. Been doing it for 4 years now. Geez, time flies, doesn't it? But yeah, I've been doing it for 4 years, and yeah, just been the guy to go to when it comes to prospects or drafts, and just been keeping my eye closely on things as things keep rolling.
We definitely like what you do here, and we're glad to have you aboard. And
Appreciate it.
definitely one of the big things going on this weekend is the draft. And of course, Baltimore Orioles had the 7th pick in the draft going into this year. And everybody has their ideas on where we should go, what we should do, how we should be, because one of the fun things about being a fan of baseball is being the armchair GM for the Baltimore Orioles. And I don't know. I can't honestly say I had a feel on what I think we should have done. All I know is I wanted to have a pitcher heavy draft because I feel that's the one area we have never really fully approached under the Elias regime. And so far, we just drafted a guy, Victor Salazar. I don't know what his position is yet, but
I know. I'm like, what is the position?
so far going into this most recent draft pick, we had picked 10 pitchers in the draft of the 18 picks, depending on what this pick is, which is kind of what I'm intrigued about. So, what are your thoughts on that, and how did you think this was going to lay out before we start getting into the player analysis?
I'm really intrigued because, like, obviously day one we had 4 rounds and we went 3 different outfielders including 2 outfielders who I already compared to outfielders that we have now in the system. But then you get more and more, and you're like, all right, we went a lot of pitchers and we went a lot of righties. We had the one lefty in Zane Adams. We had possibly the lefty in Victor Salazar, whenever we find out what position he plays. But we went very right-heavy draft, which surprised me a little bit, because we have the righties. Lefties are nice too. But we were talking earlier, a lot of high school kids. A lot of high school kids, which is not the Elias way in previous drafts.
No, definitely not.
Like, looking at
Definitely.
his 2025 draft, we had Slater DeBrum was out of high school, Jaden Loray was out of high school, and Cole Johnson, who didn't sign, was out of high school. Oh, and Connor Gator. 20 rounds. I don't remember how many picks we had 24 picks in 20 rounds and 4 high schoolers. But
Yep.
now we get into this year, and our first overall pick of the draft was out of high school. Our 4th round pick's out of high school. Our 8th round pick's out of high school. Our 12th round pick is out of high school. Our 16th pick is out of high school. Our 18th pick is out of high school. And then our 19th pick is out of high school as well. So why out of nowhere the very high school heavy draft?
Victor Salazar is an outfielder, by the way, just let you know.
I was hoping with him being 5'11".
Yeah, I'd hate to see a pitcher at 11, but
Yeah.
been proven wrong before with those small pitchers. Yeah, it's definitely we were talking about that before we came on is the amount of high school kids because that is something that um we're not used to seeing with Elias. Elias has always been one to champion college kids. Every now and then he will sprinkle in a high school kid here and there, but usually it's not his forte to draft kids that young. And, you know, Jackson Holiday is an exception to that rule. With his age, I mean, he's what? He's just now 22. He was 19 when we drafted him. So, what, you know, you don't see him drafting many kids who are in their teens outside of coming from the Dominican Republic and, Dominican and Cuban leagues. So, what do you think changed in the aspect of that? Is this something you believe Elias changed, or is this something that, something you and me were kind of discussing before we came on too? Is this a foretelling of somebody else running the draft other than Elias?
I think it's a mix of both, if that makes sense. Because like, I'm thinking he's been going what he thinks is best available, but he's also trying to build a little more because obviously the big question moving on after the All-Star break is, are we buyers? Are we sellers? Are we going through another 2021 rebuild? Are we possibly bringing kids in? Well, kids, 17 to 18-year-olds to come in, and we're using that as a chance to rebuild. Another thought process that I had is something that me and you talked about over the offseason when the Shane Boz trade happened. And a lot of players that were collected in the 2025 draft class were getting. Bodine, Slater DeBrun. And you said sometimes the pick is more so of value than need.
Exactly.
Is that a possibility?
Do you,
Is the idea of, like, say, Kevin Roberts Jr. We got him at 110. He was ranked by Pipeline at 136. He's a 6'5" outfielder. He can hit. He can run. Was that an idea of trading for the future instead of trading for need?
good way of putting it, and that's true. Is how are we stacking it up in that aspect? Is that the outlook that we're putting? Because we have been one of the criticisms of Elias is we have been prone to holding on to prospects and not getting value for them, um, which has possibly cost us in our growth over the last couple years, uh, and might be one of the reasons why our team per se underperformed. I don't believe we could say underperformed because some of the asking prices that these teams were asking when it eventually comes out were a little bit steep. And based off what we're looking at, like when we look at the Mackenzie Gore trade, what was Texas gave up for them when we look at our pipeline at what we would have been giving up, the prospects that we would have been giving up were in no comparison,
Right.
value wise to what Texas gave up. Our prospects were valued a little bit better than what Texas gave up. So you've got to take into factor that when you have a farm system that's one of the better farm systems, and you compare it to a farm system that's one of the bottom farm systems, a number 10 pick for us compared to a number 10 pick for a bottom farm system does not have the same value.
100%.
So you can't compare that in a trade.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people fail to look at, like with Mackenzie Gore, the 4 players that were traded for him, when you brought that up and you compared them to what our prospects were compared to the system that Texas had, it it, it was nowhere close. I mean, we would have been able to get Mackenzie Gore for 2 of our prospects compared to what Texas gave up.
Right. It was I have the trade up right here, but, like, the big name was Gavin Feen, who Gavin Feen was ranked is it still here? Is it gone? It's gone. He was ranked, like, top 8, I wanna say, in 2025. But he was also the 12th overall pick just a few months earlier. The trade happened in January. He was the 12th-ish. I want to say the 12th overall pick, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the 12th overall pick in 2025. So he's going to have a little more higher value. It's a 19-year-old that's coming out of high school who is just highly rated. Same thing would happen, like I said, with Shane Baz. I bet you Slater DeBrun is not in that trade. That trade never happens.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Gavin Feem was a name that everybody was talking about heading up into that July draft. But if we throw in our 2025 pick in Ike Irish, it doesn't compare.
No,
Because Irish at 19 was considered a steal.
he was. Exactly.
So that's my thing with it.
Then you take the growth. I mean, Ike Irish's growth has been tremendous. I was fortunate, Jared and me were fortunate to see him play in Delmarva, and I think you've seen him play a couple times, haven't you?
Not live.
Not live? Okay.
No, once. I'm sorry. I was at the Keys game.
Okay. So, I mean, he really does have potential. He's got a strong bat. He's definitely not going to be a catcher for us. So I do see him probably developing into a decent first baseman. I'm not so sure. Maybe a fourth outfielder at best.
Yeah.
But he's definitely not going to be a catcher. Now, we were fortunate to see the other catcher we drafted. Excuse me, my cat's deciding to make me his cat tree. The catcher we drafted in the same draft with Ike Irish. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Caden Bodine.
Yeah, Caden Bodine. We saw him at the same time play in the same game, and that kid, he's got a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Defensively, watching him behind the plate, he has got a lot of potential. And the one thing the Orioles are never short on in our farm system is catchers, which we only drafted one this draft, which I was shocked there was only one.
So far, we still got one
Yeah.
more round.
Yeah, one more round, but still, the fact that we've gone as far as we have, and it took until the 12th round for us to draft a catcher was shocking. You know, he's probably the next best prospect catching wise that we've got behind your favorite guy, Creed. So it'll be interesting to see what Leo Marrero, if I'm saying his name right, he's out of high school. What he's
Yeah.
going to be bringing to the table.
Yeah. I mean, well, we talked about the Gore trade quickly. Gavin Feem is not even a top 100 prospect. And he's ranked 8th in the system. He's behind Harry Ford, who's been in the system since I was in college, and I graduated 2 years ago. Like, he was a first-round pick back in 2021, and he's still rated higher than arguably the biggest name in the Mackenzie Gore trade. But back to what you talk about with catchers, like, you look at our farm system, Creed's a catcher. We got rid of Bodine. You still got Ethan Anderson.
Yep.
Miguel Rodriguez has looked really good in Delmarva. Ryan Stafford is an underrated catcher, in my opinion. You still have enough catchers to where you can build it up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
You can always throw Ike Irish behind the plate if you have to. I know he's been used more as an outfielder who played in the Future Stars game today, by the way. Him and DeZerwa looked really decent from my understanding. I had to miss the game. But another year of well, I wasn't gonna bring this part up, but that's another year that we haven't hit yet.
Futures game.
Yeah.
Yeah, we keep sending pitchers to the futures game. Now, if we can just keep the pitcher with us to develop into Oriole, would be great.
We tried that. We shipped him to Los Angeles for Taylor Ward.
Yeah, well, he's back on the IL, so it kind of worked in our favor.
Unfortunately.
Hate to say it, but I have all the hope and best wishes for Grayson, but sadly, it's not going to work for us. Anyway, so let's dive into first 4 rounds of the draft were yesterday. Our first pick, Eric Booth Jr. out of Oak Grove High School. That was kind of shocking. We used the first round draft pick on a high school player. Another EBJ, ironically,
Drew
What are your thoughts
Burris
on it?
Drew Burris is right there. I'll admit, I was driving when this pick happened, so I wasn't on my phone and didn't see it until I pulled into my driveway. And I almost screamed in the car because, one, you already had a big reach in Zion Rose going to the Royals, and I'm like, I don't mind Eric Booth to a point, but Drew Burris is right there. AJ Gracia is right there. And my other thing that I don't understand, the two big shortstops that are not Rock Chalowski and Grady Emerson in Jacob Lombard and Justin LeBron fell deeper.
Yep.
And those are two that you can put behind Griff O'Farrell, behind Aaron Estrada, who plays a little bit short. You can put him behind these shortstops to take over at some point. And you take like I said, Eric Booth is solid. I'm not completely overall upset with the pick. But you already have an EBJ. You just drafted another EBJ. And if he doesn't stay healthy, it's going to fall apart again.
What's interesting about this kid is they say it could be the steal of the first round. And yet, when I sit here and look at some of the things they say about him, very similar to Enrique Bradfield Jr.,
Right.
he was he was recruited to Vanderbilt, ironically. Base stealing instincts need to be improved upon. Reads and routes in center field need to be improved upon. His biggest weakness in his game is working to improve his arm strength and his batting average. All things that were very similar to what Enrique Bradfield Jr. had going into his freshman year at Vanderbilt and coming out into the 17th pick of the draft by the Baltimore Orioles. So we literally are staring at the mirror of another player that we have in our farm system, except the high school version of him.
Right. And my other thing that goes with it is we talked about having a pitcher heavy draft. Cameron Flukie, Liam Peterson, both names that I've talked about that are also right there that you let slide to AL Central teams, including Cameron Flukie, who you let slide to Detroit, which we know is a good place that develops pitching.
Strong pitching at that. That's the thing that frustrates me is Elias is bound and determined not to draft a pitcher in the first round. It's just he will not do it, no matter what. The first round is not a place to get a pitcher, and that's been an Elias thing since he's been the GM. Well, now he's vice president of baseball operations, but it's pretty much been the same thing since he's been running the team. And this is something we kind of touched on before we came on the air. Is I personally, and I've talked about this with a couple people, outside of this, is I honestly don't believe that
Starring the Biscoff Cookie Blizzard.
$1
meal today with $2 Blizzard upgrade.
Elias is the GM. I think he's got somebody running the GM spot, and towards the end of the season or winter, we're going to find out that they've been running it already during the season. And I have my idea of who it could be, which I told you offline. I'm not going to go ahead and announce it yet.
Right.
Oh, look, we drafted another high schooler for the 20th pick.
Yeah, Ross Davis, just waiting for a position.
So I think that's going to be the big surprise in the offseason is we're going to find out that we had a GM that had been in place all season, and it was never announced until the end of the season, which you don't have to announce those type of moves until the beginning or end of the season anyway.
Right.
Especially if it's a person that's training for the position who if anybody's anybody and paid attention to the Orioles front office moves within the last year, the person was already training in that position last year anyway.
Right.
So, and if anybody's paid attention to the Orioles over the past 3 or 4 years, there's an outspoken former Oriole who has yet to say anything about the Orioles this year at all. So, take that with a grain of salt. But I think
Yeah.
that's who I think our GM is going to be and is currently probably running things right now as a general manager, and I think we're gonna see more of that, and I think that's probably why Elias is front and center on things, while the other one is actually doing the work.
Right.
So, what do you think of our second pick? Ty Head from North Carolina.
I like I like Tyen. I think the problem that is going to be seen is the counting stats, as I call it. He only batted 279 in college. I know the agenda is if you're not batting 300 in college, it's whatever. Reminder, 447 on base, 913 OPS, 105 walks to 50 strikeouts in his college career.
That's pretty damn impressive numbers.
Doubled the amount of walks to strikeouts.
447 on base percentage, so you're getting on base 44% of the time you're at bat. That's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah.
931 slugging percentage, that means you're hitting the ball and hitting it with authority when you're putting it in play. They're not cheap shots. They're not singles. They're doubles, triples, and home runs.
And 26 stolen bases. He's got
So
speed too.
that's what they're saying with Booth. They're saying Booth has the ability to have power of 20, 25 home runs. And with the ability to steal bases, that he could eventually be a 30-30 guy with with the proper training. Um, so first two picks, you're talking possibly 20 home run power from both of them.
Right.
What about Dominic? Is it Vogel?
I
Vageller?
I I think it's Vogel.
Okay. From Kansas.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to Kansas, to be honest with you. But I think it's Vogel. And this is another conversation. People are gonna see that 5.85 ERA and get scared because it's 5.85 ERA over 97 innings and a 5.22 ERA in his collegiate career in 274 innings. But I want to use an example of a current Cy Young winner that dominates with Detroit and Tariq Skubal. When he was drafted out of Seattle University his final year, he had a 4.86 ERA. College is harder to hold an ERA, in my opinion, because it also depends on where you play. Kansas is in the Big 12.
Mhm.
TCU, Baylor. It's a very tough conference, especially since the Pac-12 has disbanded. Some are in the SEC, some are in the Big 12, some are in the Big 10. It all depends on where you're at in the conference. You're playing at Kansas, you're gonna play Big 12 competition, you're gonna play top prospects. You're gonna play young freshmen that are gonna turn into top prospects. It's gonna inflate your ERA.
Ross Davis is a pitcher, by the way.
Oh, let's go, another pitcher.
Yep. The other thing I'll throw into that, college pitchers do have a little bit more of a difficult time in college. In college, you're either a pitcher who completely misses at bats or misses bats, or you're a pitcher who's going to get hit. Aluminum bats tend to give pop to the ball. So the ball's either going to fly out of the ballpark or you're just going to deaden the ball when it hits the bat, depending on how fast you can throw. That's why the likes of people like Steven Strasburg looked so amazing in college and came up. And not that he wasn't a good pitcher, but he was not the pitcher he was in college. So you got to take pitching with a grain of salt when it comes to what you see in college. Because, like Jonathan Rocker, you know, those pitchers that dominate college are not always going to be the same pitchers come time in the big leagues. Pitchers who struggle sometimes in college become the better pitchers in the big leagues than the pitchers who dominate college and they come in to be average pitchers come big league times. Those aluminum bats change how a pitcher can approach a game because an aluminum bat is not solid, right?
Right.
It's air in the middle of it. So you can swing an aluminum bat a little bit easier versus a solid wood bat. So movement on a ball, you can get around quicker with an aluminum bat than with a solid wood bat. So when you have a pitch that is breaking left to right or north to south, you can make that adjustment a lot quicker. With a wooden bat, you don't have the ability to do that as well. So a lot of these pitchers who throw sliders and two seamers more or cutters and sinkers tend to be better pitchers in the big leagues than the pitchers who come in throwing 98 and 99-mile-per-hour fastballs. That's why pitchers such as Grayson Rodriguez can hit the big leagues. And I'm only picking on him because he was throwing 100 miles an hour at one point and can't dominate with his fastball in the big leagues. Because that
Dylan Bundy.
Yep, Dylan Bundy. Great. That's a great one. You can't Kevin Gausman early in his career. Until Kevin Gausman learned that you can use a two-seamer and a cutter and a sinker, you can't blow a fastball by these guys. These guys are sitting on it, and they're used to hitting 99 and 100-mile-per-hour pitches.
Yeah.
Got to develop secondary pitches. That's what makes Trevor Rogers so dangerous when he's on. His fastball tops out at 93, 94 miles an hour. But because his cutter and his sinker and his two-seamer are so dangerous, he can use his fastball as a deceptive pitch by using those pitches to set it up.
It's the same thing with Chris Bassett in a way with that sinker.
Yeah,
Because when Bassett's sinker is on, it's disgusting.
it is.
And we're talking about college pitchers that can fail. There's some that have turned out fine that have been top picks. We're seeing it now in Pittsburgh with Paul Skeens. Obviously, number 1 overall pick and is still dominant to this day and needs to get out of Pittsburgh, but that's a whole different conversation. But like you look at some of the top prospects, if you go back, well, like Casey Mize out of Auburn was supposed to be this big deal. Unfortunately, injuries also hurt him, but didn't really turn into anything special yet. Things could turn with him. He's still young enough. There's plenty of college pitchers that you look and their ERA looks inflated, especially, and we'll talk about this when we get to him, if we go that far, especially if you're in the SEC.
Quick update from Steve Maluski. Final tallies for the Baltimore Orioles in the draft, just real quick. Orioles drafted 11 pitchers, 9 position players. Of the pitchers, 10 righties, 1 lefty. We took 12 from college, 8 from high school. Selected 11 pitchers, 1 catcher, 3 infielders, 4 outfielders, 1 utility. Interesting stat, from 2019 to 2025, we drafted 48.4% pitchers. In this draft alone, we drafted 55% pitchers.
Something changed.
Yep. Something definitely changed. And once again, I'll go back to, I don't think Elias was running this draft.
My only fear is I'm really hoping that they're not seeing how development is with the pitchers we have from the 2025 draft and think that's the answer. Because that's not going to happen every single year.
No.
You're not going to have the Joseph DeZerwa, JT Quinn, Caden Hunters, and even Braden Sloan of players that you've drafted as a pitcher and they've done a complete 180. DeZerwa is the top lefty in our system. JT Quinn has looked really solid for someone that didn't even pitch at all after being drafted. I mean, y'all hear me talk about Caden Hunter all the time. And then Braden Sloan, who I haven't even talked about, was a 17th round pick, and I think he could arguably be a top 100 prospect in 2 to 3 years.
Well, what's bad is our best pitcher's not even pitching this year.
Talking about Braxton Bragg?
Yep.
Yep.
We probably won't even see him till next year. If they do it properly, we probably won't see him till next year.
Yeah, he started throwing. I wouldn't be surprised if he does a random August thing with the rookie ball team.
Yeah, that you might see him a couple times, but realistically, we're probably looking at next year.
Probably.
and you get him back to health. I mean, you're talking about tooth number 2 pitcher easily for a rotation.
Behind
Um,
Zerwa.
if he continues to develop the way he was.
Correct.
But right now, you look at the Orioles, and I see a lot of people, and it's kind of funny. You see a lot of people on X, formerly Twitter, talking about how the Orioles need to get another starter, and we don't need a starting pitcher right now. The Orioles have the 4th best starting pitching over the last 6 weeks in the AL and 7th best in the majors. You don't mess with that when it's working.
Right.
Bullpen is where we need the help, and right now, with some of the draft capital we have, we can definitely find a good lefty because more than likely it looks like Keegan Aiken's gonna be gone for the season. He's going to visit a surgeon Tuesday.
Yeah.
Uh, Helsley, luckily, is just inflammation, but he's only pitched 17 games for us this year, so I'm not so worried about closer if we keep Wells back there right now. Wells has looked pretty good back there, which is where I thought he should have been all year anyway. Um, but we do have some draft capital, and I'm sure we have a couple players that we drafted today and yesterday that some team might want. That's another beauty about the draft is there are teams that we got players that they're going to say, hey, we wanted this guy. We'll give you this if you give us this, and this guy.
Right.
And like Zach was alluding to earlier, this is a conversation I think we had last year all around on the draft. Sometimes it's not about um, the need or the want, it's about the need because of what you intend to do with the draft play or with the pick. See,
Right.
I think baseball still needs to change it where you can trade draft picks. You can trade competitive balance picks, but you can't trade draft picks.
Right.
Uh,
And we traded a competitive balance pick this year,
yeah, that's how we got Boz, the Wizard of Boz.
and that turned into what was it? CB. That's what I want. Yeah. Turned into a shortstop from South Carolina, high schooler.
Yep. And I'm sorry, I think Boz has pitched pretty well for us. He's gotten the
Yeah.
short end of the stick a few times, unfortunately, like today. Uh, the 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 error by Blaze, which no fault to Blaze because he's utility guy. He's playing different positions, but phew, I don't know where he was throwing that ball, but unfortunately, it extended the inning longer than it had to, affected Blaze's pitch count, which unfortunately it's trickle down effect, which cost him, innings.
Right.
So, those small little details, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the draft. All right, moving on, we're going to go down to Kevin Roberts Jr. out of Jackson Prep High School.
He's another one. The thing that impresses me, he's 6'5" and he can run. MLB Pipeline gave him a 60 speed. They gave him a 55 power. Um, Now something I realized, and this could have just been a website mix up or something, but I put this in the article that came out yesterday about the draft stuff. Um, there, the Jackson Prep baseball roster on their website has him listed as an outfielder and a pitcher.
Hmm. That's that's interesting because it'd be interesting. It looks like we drafted him as an outfielder. Remember we had that last year with a player we drafted. He was a third baseman and a pitcher, but we drafted him as a third baseman.
Trying to think who we drafted.
Um,
Third, we didn't draft the third baseman last year.
it is second baseman. It was an infielder and a pitcher, but we drafted him. It was an outfielder. This guy from North Carolina, if I remember correctly.
The University of North Carolina or North Carolina in general?
I think it's University. It might have been University of North Carolina. If I remember correctly, it's Carolina. But I think he was a pitcher and an infielder of some sorts. But we drafted him as an infielder, not a pitcher. Actually, no. I lied. It was an outfielder. It was the outfielder for North Carolina. Horvath.
Oh, Matt Horvath from a few years ago.
Was it a couple years ago?
Yeah, because he was in the, Dominguez trade. In one of the trades that went to, Philly. Yeah, that was 23, I think. I think he was after EBJ. Yeah, he was the second round pick in 23.
Because he was both. He was listed as both, but we drafted him specifically as the infield or as the outfielder.
Right. Yeah, he's with Tampa Bay now, so I'm trying to think, who did we get from Tampa Bay? Because he wasn't in the Boss trade. I don't know, we trade so much with Tampa Bay, it's hard to remember them all.
I know. Oh, another guy could have played for Florida.
Huh. We love our Gators.
We do.
Oh, he was in the Eflin trade
Okay.
with Etzel and Jackson Ballmeister. That actually makes sense. Yeah, because I remember when me and Justin did the, commentary with, Michael Marcantoni, he got to commentate Horvath's last ever Orioles home run.
Okay. I'm not seeing anything about him being
Like I
pitching.
said, it could have been a website thing.
Ah, there he goes. He's utilized as times as a pitcher too, hitting mid-90s on the mound.
Is that Roberts? Or is
Yep.
that yeah.
Yep.
I was like I was actually sitting at Camden Yards yesterday and was looking at it and was like, "Wait a minute, that says pitcher next to him." And then I looked and some of the others had it, but I'm also like, it's high school. Sometimes they have just POs, sometimes they have position players that can also pitch if needed. But I mean,
He can also play for the infield.
wow. I saw a lot of like I think it was Joe Doyle gonna be a steal at 110.
I mean, we literally one of the things I know we like to do as a franchise, and this dates back to before Buck Showalter. We like our players to be able to play multiple positions, which I think benefits a player, period,
Right.
because it gives them the ability to break into the big leagues quicker.
Right.
Um, Kevin Roberts, though, with his frame, has the ability to be a good corner outfielder, but they say his biggest thing is he's got to stop chasing fastballs outside the zone and adjust to breaking balls. Now, comes to mind at 6'5" chasing breaking balls. That's at that frame. That's a huge problem because it took 2 years for them to realize that with Colton Cowser, just throw breaking balls or changeups to him, and you got him off his game.
That's exactly why I chuckled a few seconds ago. I'm like, it's just Cowser.
It is.
It's Cowser. And
It
it's what it is. It's just Cowser.
Cowser went to work. Now that's the thing is Cowser actually put in the work to adjust and become a better player because of it, and he's grinded his way into this season and improved. But you still see some of the flaws come through here and there.
Right.
But he has definitely improved his ability to hit secondary pitches. He's improved his ability to actually notice and pay attention to the strike zone. So it's not it's not a quick process that you can actually teach a batter that. Um, One of the things that they have provided players with that helps now is the indoor batting cages, but the virtual reality programs that they utilize now where you can actually simulate facing a pitcher, which helps when you have inclement weather, but how it helps with you batting, I don't know. So what I'm seeing here is a lot of the players that we've drafted are very similar to a lot of the players we already have,
Right.
like outside the pitching combos. But I mean, I'm looking at sizes and builds and what they're pointing out as flaws, and there's a lot of similarities to players we already have, and it's just like put them in the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause you can even discuss that with the next guy, the 5th round pick,
Jimmy Anderson.
Jimmy Anderson. Like, my thing with Jimmy Anderson is, you obviously liked something in him. 19th round pick last year, didn't sign.
Yep.
Was one of 3 players who didn't sign. And he's a contact guy that can smack doubles, knock in ribbies, walks a lot, and steals bags.
Yep. Jackson Holiday.
I was thinking Blaze.
Oh, Blaze. Yeah, that's true.
That's what I was thinking.
You know who else he kind of can sound like is Westberg before he kind of adjusted his game.
Right. Coming out of Mississippi State.
Yeah, that's definitely who I would have.
Now, I know we're kind of just jumping around, but I'll even talk about the next one, Zane Adams, because I talked about the SEC pitching earlier.
He's 6'5" guy, isn't he? 6'8".
6 foot. No, that's he's 6'4". You're talking about Ross Norman, who was drafted later. He's 6'7".
Okay, I knew it
Or
got one
or
big guy.
or Colin McKinney. He's 6'5" from Alabama. Or Arizona, I'm sorry. But Zane Adams, he stays at 93 miles an hour, between 92 to 94. Has a changeup that's a high 70s, low 80s, and a curveball around 85 to 87. It's Trevor Rogers.
How are you 6'5" and have a fastball that maxes at 94?
That's what Perfect Game College Baseball had on their tweet back in April.
That just at 6 foot, I was throwing 95 in ninth grade. There's somebody's got to do something with his mechanics. There's no reason he's maxing out at 94 at 6'5". He should easily be in the upper 90s.
Yeah, I don't.
Something's wrong with his windup.
Yeah,
Sorry, I just
yeah, you're good. But my thing is, he also he gave up a lot of contact. But like I said before, it's the SEC.
yeah, you're facing the SEC where you basically have pro style players.
Yeah, and a lot of it came against Texas in the College World Series. Texas blew him up.
Oh, Texas was phenomenal this year.
Yeah, Texas blew him up. I can go back and look. I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia had something to do with it, because Georgia is Georgia. Shout
I
out
was gonna
Jared.
say Georgia's just
Um.
Jared's laughing in the background.
Oh, 100%. Okay, he never went up against Georgia. He went up against Texas twice though, and the first time he shoved 6 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, 7 Ks. But then in the College World Series, 1 2/3, 7 earned runs, 3
Ouch.
walks, 2 strikeouts.
So my question then is was it the pressure or was it just a bad game?
Looking at it, it was his worst game of the year, and he also went up against Oregon State, Kentucky, Florida, Auburn, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Vandy, South Carolina, St. John's, and that was his worst start, which was his last start of the year.
So it could have very well just been too much pressure.
Could have been nerves,
Yeah.
because even when he went up against Vanderbilt, he gave up 8 hits and didn't let a run score.
Yeah. If you do that well against Vanderbilt, I mean, that's the team. If you're going to have a bad game, Vanderbilt's the game you're going to have it against.
Yeah, and Vanderbilt was even not great this year.
No, but even a bad Vanderbilt team's a good team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like facing North Carolina ACC on a bad year.
Yeah. And like I've said looking at it, he has done something different because his first year as a freshman, he had a 5.37 ERA in 58 innings. His second year, he had a 5.54, but then his junior year, he had a 4.58. And that was a 4.58 with more starts and a lot more innings. There's a 25 inning difference between his sophomore year and his junior year. He's not a walk person.
So he had to improve his curveball and that changeup.
Most likely, yes.
And coming into the majors, I can guarantee somebody's going to teach him a cutter or a slider.
Preferably a cutter if you're throwing 93.
Yeah. Well, if you're throwing 93, you definitely need to learn how to throw a two-seamer
Yeah.
because the two-seamer, and that might be what he's throwing. If its fastball is only sitting at 93, he might just be throwing the two-seamer. He might not be throwing a four-seam fastball
Let me see if I
because two-seam fastballs come in at around low mid-90s. If it's got movement on it, it should be a two-seamer. If he's throwing a straight four-seamer, he should be up in the mid because at his size, just the push from his leg through his hips should be pushing that ball up another 3 miles an hour.
Right. Especially being a lefty.
Exactly. Well, it's like what I saw with Trevor Rogers this year, and it used to frustrate me that, I could hear Ben McDonald talking about it. I heard Jim Palmer talking about it, but the one thing that they never said that he was doing was every time he would pitch, he would fall off the mound a different way. It was never the repeated way, which means his mechanics weren't being repeated. And it was the smallest thing, but it was the reason why his pitches on 0-2, 3-2, 2-2 counts were sailing so far inside or sitting down the middle of the plate because he couldn't get that pitch to slide further in the strike zone because he was already lining up in the strike zone, or the way he was falling off the mound, he wasn't able to complete the motion to get it to come through the strike zone because he was already starting outside the strike zone.
Right.
Those are the little things that these pitchers are going to experience coming through the minor leagues. We have a whole new coaching staff in the bigs. So most of our minor league teams are still pretty similar coaching staffs that they've had for the past few years. But in the big leagues, it's a whole new coaching staff. So
Right.
what these players have experienced in the minor leagues over the last 7 years, 8 years is now different up in the big leagues. And I think some of that might be part of the issue with, I would say, you know, maybe your Jackson Holidays, your Gunnar Hendersons, Colt Cowsers, because they were taught one thing coming up through the minor leagues. And the big leagues they were all in one fluid unison all the way up. Now what's being taught through the minor leagues is being completely different in the majors, and that could be one of the reasons why our offense is struggling. And I can't believe I just said that out loud and not thought about that until now.
Yeah.
But these are the things that I think are going to be hit and miss throughout the year. These players are going to experience going through, and I think that's one thing that Elias, as the president of baseball operations, needs to sit down and get all these groups together to be on the same wavelength. If you're going to teach this up in the majors, you've got to teach this all the way down from rookie ball on up. And I know you love hearing me say rookie ball, but you really do. You've got to have the same fluidity from the very beginning all the way up to the very end. So you're not altering too much from what these players are going to experience from rookie ball, single A, high A, double A, triple A to the majors.
Right. And something I think is going to help the future generation is the Orioles have gone out and grabbed former prospects from their system and have turned them into coaches.
Exactly.
Taron Vavra is a coach over in the FCL. Noborth Romero is a coach over in the DSL. Those are two prospects right there that have grown up in the Orioles system. Now, Romero was a part of the Andrew Kashner trade.
Mhm.
So he hasn't grown up in our system, but he was also, I believe, 18 or 19 when we traded for him. Taron Vavra is a player that has made it all the way up to the majors
Yep.
and has gotten to play and now is going to coach these kids. Well, I say kids, but
They are. They're kids.
young prospects. Most of them are kids. And like something that I thought of is that what changed like Jaden Leray? Like Jaden Leray was a 6th-round pick coming in, didn't play at all last year. And now look at him.
Yeah.
And I'm also saying his name because he just popped up because Delmarva did something. But anyway,
No.
Jaden Laray's looked like a top prospect. So what changed?
I think those little things help
Yeah.
because these players know what they went through and what experiences they had coming up through the system from college, from high school, what to expect at each level, and what type of coaching you're going to get. Also, how the game is different at each level. We see it from a fan's perspective, and because we watch it nearly every single day,
Right.
different angles. We write about it, we read about it, we see about it on whatever sports platform we're watching or social media platform we're looking at. We see it, find it computer wise, tablet wise, cell phone. We can always find it and see it. So our perspective is definitely going to be a lot different than the perspective of actually living it. And it does. I think that's going to help a lot going forward.
Right.
So we could easily sit here and go through every pick the rest of the way, but I think we've hit the top 5 picks, which I think is probably the most important. Um, Looking at picks 1 through 20, I know you haven't been able to research the last 2 picks all too well. Who would you say right now are you most excited about and your biggest concern is out of the draft?
Who I'm most okay, I'll do biggest concern
Okay.
because I had this concern 10 minutes before we started when I was pulling up all this stuff. I look at this correctly? Yeah, I did. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's more than 7. All right. So now my biggest concern might have changed. This is not right. All right, let's go here. Okay. It's still going to be Ross Norman. Right-hander out of Coastal Carolina. He made 16 starts last year. He was high in the innings, high in wins, which whatever. Hit a 6-7 record with a 6.46 ERA. The thing that scares me, 78 innings pitched, 65 strikeouts,
So he's not a strikeout pitcher.
which scares me. It's the MLB. If you're not a strikeout pitcher, you better be a darn good ground ball pitcher.
That's true. You better know how to pitch a sinker ball.
Yeah. That is one of my biggest scares. One that I'm actually excited for after looking at it for a little bit is he the 10th round pick? Yeah, the Carlos Sanchez. Sorry, I said Carlos Santana.
Sanchez.
Carlos Sanchez. That's a tongue twister. Because this is a JUCO player. Just real quick, his build: 6 foot 190. When he was drafted, he was originally put down as a catcher. Now he's a utility player. 37 for 41 on stolen bases.
Impressive.
388 average. 88 hits. 13 triples in 57 games.
That's impressive. 13
And
triples in 57 games. Good lord.
and he's supposed to be a catcher.
There are players who've only had 13 triples in 162 games.
Yeah,
13 and 57. Good lord. That's what, one triple every 3 games? 4
roughly.
games? Yeah, it's almost one triple every 4 games.
Yeah, and he only had one game where he had 2 triples in that game. And his last triple came in April 3rd. He still played another month without having a triple, meaning it's 13 triples in less games.
Yeah, that's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 less games. So like 13 triples in 36 games.
so that's one triple every 3 games.
Yeah.
Ah,
And you
my
still have
most
20 doubles, and you also walk more than you strike out. Not by much, but
I'm most excited for Dominic Vogel.
yeah.
Reason being is we selected a pitcher in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time we selected a pitcher that high since DL Hall, to tell you the truth.
Deserva was a second round pick.
Okay. I honestly, I don't when did we draft him last year?
Yeah.
Okay. I honestly did not remember that, and I know we did this last year, but I honestly did not remember that. So, forgive me for not remembering that, I apologize,
It's
but
fine.
Vogel, I'm kinda excited about, especially since he's coming out of a school like Kansas.
Yeah.
Um, I he's ranked 205th, so, of course, a lot of people are gonna think we're overreaching, and underslotting. I don't think so. I think there's actually a lot of upside with him, and I think that we have the ability to turn this into a better pick, excuse me, than what people think. And I think this is actually something that's gonna benefit us, whether it turns into a trade capital piece or a piece that benefits the team in the future. We'll have to come back and visit this in 3 years and
Yeah.
find a way to actually see if it benefited us, but I'm most excited about him. I am most concerned about EBJ 2.0
Yeah.
for the same reasons that we were discussing earlier. He honestly is another version of Enrique Bradfield, who now, honestly, I will say Enrique Bradfield in the second part of the season has started out a little bit better up in AAA, but he was hampered by a hamstring injury that might have sapped some of what he was doing up in AAA Norfolk, but there's still a lot of issues there.
Right.
He's the defense is there, but he's making too many running mistakes on base. Um, he's making some blunders at at the dish. I've seen some video of his at bats, and it's like, why are you chasing some of the pitches he's chasing? And whether it's impressing, I don't know, but he is definitely striking out way too much for AAA if he wants to be up in the big leagues as a starting center fielder in the next year or two.
Right.
I mean, Gunnar Henderson coming into the majors did not strike out half as much as he was striking out now. His walks and strikeout numbers were pretty even, and here we are 3 years later, 4 years later, Gunnar Henderson striking out nearly 150 times a season.
Right. And something that scares me, and that's what I was looking at, is the development of first round picks recently.
Yep.
And like you go back, I mean, we can go back as far as you want, but I went as back as to the Elias era. So 2019 on. Adley's developed into an all-star catcher, but he was also a first overall and was arguably the best college prospect
Yes.
since Dansby Swanson, maybe. Um, that I can think of. But he's also arguably the best catcher prospect since Buster Posey.
Agreed.
Um, or even Matt Wieters if you want to go that far. Um, 2020 was Heston Kjerstad. Now, granted, he had the Maya, the correct way to
Oh,
say
he
it,
had COVID, then myocarditis.
and then he got hit in the head. And I think his problems have turned mental, and he's gotten better.
Yes.
You have Cowser. Cowser looked really good in the minor leagues, brought it up to the major leagues, and he can't hit a breaking ball that well. He's
First,
gotten better.
first 2 years, he looked really good. Last year and a half, he's been,
Meh.
yeah.
Jackson Holliday, who I still say to this day was the consensus number 1 overall pick. That 2022 draft class is just terrible right now. But outside of like a few names, but Jackson Holliday, he had a great start, but I also do think that he was rushed in 2024.
He also has yet to play a full season, mind you, just because he missed 2/3 of this season. Me and Nathan were talking about this the other day on his podcast. He has yet to hit 1,000 at bats.
Yeah. And
So
yeah. But my thing with Holiday is I do think he was rushed, and I do think this is why social media can be a bad thing. We all wanted Holiday, we got Holiday, and then we were all upset that Holiday did not look good like he did in AAA.
I still think I still think that he's going to be the player we all think he's going to be.
Right.
Now, I think his brother will be better. Don't get me wrong. I think Ethan will
Yeah.
end up being better, but I think Jackson Holliday is going to be a good ball player. One, because the genes are there, and he knows how to conduct himself properly because of his dad. He's got his dad to fall back on when things aren't going right, so his dad will be upfront and honest with him. Um, I think him missing 2/3 of the season kinda cost him, but, something Nathan brought up the other day is, he's hitting the ball pretty decent. He goes 3 for 3 or 4 for 4 the other day, and then they bench him the next day. Not bench him, but, they sit him down the next day, and it's like, how is this kid supposed he's the number 1 overall pick. He should be playing. How do you sit him down against left-handed batters if this is the guy who's the number 1 overall pick and is supposed to know how to hit these people?
Right, and isn't that what Stowers said when he got
Exactly.
traded? The up and down, up and down, up and down messed with
Yep.
him?
And look at Stowers. The consistent playing time, the guy hit 28 home runs and became an all-star.
Right, but
So,
right. I mean, you also have EBJ, which has some injury problems, some health concerns. And you have a guy who stole bases in Vanderbilt that has hamstring issues.
ugh. Don't remind me.
And then you have Vance Honeycutt. Now, granted, I said back in 2024, I did have in my draft article that Vance Honeycutt would be a pick, but there's a reason why he was an honorable mention. I like
Yep,
Vance Honeycutt.
I
He
know you do. And we discussed him when he was actually ranked ahead of EBJ. Um,
Yeah,
I think the problem that Vance Honeycutt has, and we discussed this before, is this is his 3rd season in High A. Which
yeah.
anybody who's anybody, I know this is first season in Frederick. Now, I have not been to the Frederick Key Stadium, so I don't know what it looks like and how it affects hitters. But I do know Aberdeen is the worst place for hitters to go if they're going to succeed. So I kind of give him an albatross his first 2 years in High A. As far as Frederick Stadium, you know more about that. Is the problem still it's not a hitter friendly park, or is it definitely maybe Aberdeen sapped him mentally and he just is not adjusting properly? Or does he possibly just need to get up to Double A to get the adjustments properly?
I probably still think he wasn't a first round pick.
He might not be a first round pick, but do you think
But yeah, I get what you're saying. First off, I will say Frederick is a much more hitter friendly ballpark.
okay.
We are seeing it with Aloy's doing fine, Iris is doing fine. We're seeing what Victor Figueroa is doing,
Mhm.
and he came from a San Diego system where everyone says stadiums are nice.
Yeah.
Um, but overall, I think it's all mental. I think it's the fact that it's a guy who came in, he struggled everywhere. He struck out a lot in the ACC, which the ACC is a tough conference as it is.
It is. Second best conference in baseball in college.
Got drafted, went to Aberdeen and fell off. And he's just having a hard time getting back into it.
Well, it's funny. He posted on social media. I really thought it was kind of funny and comical. At first I thought he might have just done it as a joke, but I really think he's serious. But he posted on social media. He is open to any suggestions anybody has to help alter his swing to help him out.
Right. And my thing with that comment is I think back to something that was it Wade Boggs or Pete Rose, where altering your swing does nothing. You either choke up, choke down, move up, move back, or you fix your
Yep.
timing. So I just think he's thinking too much. I mean, here's the thing, he's 23.
I think a lot of baseball players' problems now these days is they're thinking and trying to go up there and guess the pitch. Don't go up there and guess the pitch. Go up there and do what brought you here. Just
And
go up there and produce. Don't try to guess what's coming based off what you see. Just
and don't base off what people on social media say either.
exactly.
Like, I mean, you played high school ball.
Yeah.
Did you play college or did you just play high school?
I tried out for college. I played in the scrimmages, and I was told to come back the following year because I was too young.
Fair. But you played high school ball
Yep.
a long time ago. But
We won't go there.
we'll say 90s. 90s sounds nice.
It was
But
90s. You're right.
there was no social media back in the 90s. If
Nope.
there was, it was AOL. Or not AOL. Yeah,
You're
AOL.
right. AOL.
And hey, look at me. But no, but there was no videos of being trolled on the internet. There was no videos of people being like, "Oh, this is easy." And I'm not
Yep.
trying to bash fan bases. I'm just saying in general because I
No.
see it everywhere.
You had no cell phones to instantly upload things or share with people what was going on.
Right. And my thing with that is like, even if you want to look at the 2024 class and think, "Oh, that class looks solid." It looks solid because there are people having good rookie years. But
Yes.
if you look at it, the people having good rookie years, they were top picks for a reason. Travis Bazzana, Chase Burns, the athletic Nick, JJ Weatherholt, Jack Caglione, Connor Griffin. Top 9 picks. We're talking about a guy all the way down at 22 who are behind names that are not even top prospects in their own system.
Yeah.
3 years or 2 years later.
And you see why he's our number one prospect guy, right? All right. Before we wrap things up, um, grading scale. What do you give the Orioles draft
Overall,
overall?
I guess C plus, because it's average. We got what we wanted. We got a lot of pitchers. What knocks it down a little bit is honestly, what knocks down a little bit is a little too many high school kids.
I give the same grade. Honestly, I'm a C plus with you. I kind of differ with you on why it knocks it down. I kind of think, um, our first pick, um, is one of the reasons it knocks it down, and too many of our picks mirror a lot of players we already have that are
Right.
still in the minors. Um, if they're still in the minors, why are we drafting players that are similar to them?
Right.
They're in the minors for a reason.
Yeah. And
So why are we drafting another player to look in the mirror at?
right.
So, and I know it's I will say, and we've said this, I think every year we've done this, it's very hard to sit there and grade a draft class because we don't know what it's going to do. If you come back 3, 4 years from now and give it a grade, you're probably better off grading it. And that
Yeah.
might be something we have to revisit in the future. We come back here and look at 2019, 2020, or something like that and give it a real grade.
Oh,
And
please say when.
yeah, that's okay. We that's something we
We
probably
can go 23 and back because
yeah. It might be a good idea to do that because we can actually give it a better grade. But I agree. I think it's about a C plus.
yeah.
Um, I like the fact that we went heavy pitcher wise. It's the first draft class I think we've actually gone heavy wise under the Elias-era. It's also the first draft class I can remember was drafting as many high school players as we did under the
Yep.
Elias-era. And I think there's a method to that because he's not too worried if they go to college and we lose them.
My biggest concern that I have is looking at some of the situations. I would bet money by the end of the signing period, 6 players don't sign.
Huh.
Minimum.
We have until July 27th. I'll find out.
Yeah, because I can already see 3, like, I don't No, I can see 4 or 5 off the top of my head that don't sign.
Well, the good thing is the way we've picked most of these players, we overslotted, which means we'll have more money to spread around. So the players we really want, we can offer more money to.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. That's how we got Gunnar Henderson
God, when did first overall pick start making $11 million?
when you underslotted him.
Because that is the approximate pick for Rock, 11.35.
Yeah. Well, just shame I never became a first round draft pick then. But I would have back in the time when the Orioles traded for Glenn Davis and he signed a record breaking contract of $1.1 million.
Yeah. It's like we've talked about before.
Snail
Uh,
mail was how we got it. It was a pigeon through the air.
yeah, well, that's like I've said before, Jackson Holliday's 2022 money is more than what Jim Palmer made in a 23-year MLB career.
Yep.
And I think it was doubled.
Yep. And Jim Palmer's a Hall of Famer with 3 Cy Young awards.
Best Orioles pitcher of all time.
Has 3 World
Three-time
Series rings.
3-time World Series winner.
Yep. So, anyway, on that note, we're going to wrap things up here. I want to thank Zach for joining us for the special. Well, it's supposed to be just about the draft, but we seem to talk all things together when we get with Zach.
We do
One of
this
the
all
great
the
things,
time.
yeah, one of the great things about having Zach on is we can talk about everything. But this was our draft day special. Thank you all for joining us. I want to give a big shout out to the Baltimore Battery because without the Baltimore Battery, we would not be doing this at all. I wouldn't even know Zach. Well,
I wouldn't have the confidence to do this.
But don't forget to check out the BaltimoreBattery.com. Be on the lookout for Zach's articles on draft day 1 and 2, where he goes a little bit deeper into the prospects that were drafted and gives you a better understanding of what these draft picks are made of and the quality of the draft picks. Also, be on the lookout for the prospect pieces, right? End of the month prospect piece is coming.
Yeah, 2 more weeks of the month. I think the next thing we really have is that and any trade deadline stuff.
Yep.
Deadline's August 3rd.
The Great, the Good, and the Ugly is getting ready to come out. We are on the All-Star break, so Midsummer Classic with only one Baltimore Oriole there.
So far.
Yeah.
Crazy things can happen. I could go on about that. Anyway, let's move on.
So don't forget to head over to the BaltimoreBattery.com. Make sure you find an article that you like. Look for one of your favorite authors. You have Zachary Bucklew. You have Justin Supton, RJ Delberto, Jared Watson, myself. You can also find the Baltimore Battery on X and TikTok at the Be More Battery. You can find myself on X and TikTok at SRJ Heckman. You can find Zach on X at
Zagatag 8211.
and are you on TikTok as well?
For scrolling.
Okay. And you can find the Final Strike on X at the Final Strike _. You can also find the podcast on YouTube at SRJ Heckman or wherever your favorite podcasts are played. Also want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Advanced Mobility Solution, formerly Scooters for Rent. If you're ever in the Maryland, Delaware area and you're looking for any products mobility wise, that means mobility scooters, manual wheelchairs, beach wheelchairs, electric wheelchairs, or lift recliners. Don't forget to give them a call at 302-280-6203 and tell them Steven from the Final Strike sent you. Till next time, Birdland, remember to keep that beer cold, keep cheering the birds on, and peace out. We'll see you next time.